Welcome to Toddy D's Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Brooklyn's own Toddy D, and today I'm here to take you back to the year 2007, the Turnbuckle Promotions Convention held in Long Island, where I had the privilege of interviewing 60 wrestlers, valets, managers, you name it. Brooklyn's own got to interview them, while Die Hard Derek was on the other side from the Midnight Hustle podcast. He held the camera, I was the interviewer. Today, we're going to take you back to the interview that we conducted with Tammy Sytch, formerly from the Body Donnas. She's a Hall of Famer. So many things that she did in the wrestling business. We're going to get all into it later. But right now, Brooklyn's Own is going to take you to that interview that was held in 2007. Tammy discussed so many things. Just to give you a little taste of what she was talking about, she discussed her hatred towards Sable, the whole Playboy deal between the two of them, who was the real one, who got offered first. We're talking about her disdain toward the Divas search back in 07. She said it was a waste of time. She was saying that the Divas in general were not being utilized correctly, that it's just a meat market, and so much more. I'm telling you, grab a cold one. You're going to want to sit down and see this interview that Die Hard Derek and I conducted. It's spot on. She tells it like it is. She pulls no punches. It's a great interview. So sit back, watch the interview, and then when we're done showing this interview, Brooklyn's Own is going to come back on my podcast. That's right, Toddy D's Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm going to come back. We're going to discuss what's going on with Tammy since 2007, where she's currently at now in the year of 2022, and so much more. So like I said, grab a cold one, sit back and enjoy, and I'll be back to you soon.
Hey everybody, I'm Sunny, the original diva of the WWE, and you're watching Die Hard Wrestling. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm here live with Tammy. Thank you for taking the time out to answer a couple of questions.
Sure, what's up?
First question off, how do you feel women are portrayed in the business?
As opposed to when I was in the WWF or now, or?
A basic comparison then and now.
Well, now it's pretty much a meat market. No offense to any of the girls out there that are actually employed full-time in this industry right now, but it's a meat market. They have no talent. They're out there to look good and to have guys drool over them, basically. At least when I was, working for Vince in WWF, what I could contribute actually meant something. I could talk, I could, do a photo shoot, I could, host a TV show, I can do whatever I needed to do. So back then there was a little more substance behind, the characters, and now it's just their flesh. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Do you think they're treated fairly backstage by promoters, bookers, and male workers, the girls of today?
I don't know, because I haven't been there in a little while, so I really don't know how the 87 girls that are employed there right now are treated backstage. Well, but when I was there, I was respected. I pretty much was on top of the world back there, and there was only a couple of guys, in the higher echelon than I was. But back when I was there, it was good, and who knows how it is now? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Do you think that the Diva search takes away opportunities for girls who have worked hard and paid their dues in the business?
Absolutely. I'll be totally honest with you. I think the Diva search is a waste of time. I really do. I can't watch it. The one time I did try to watch it, I had to turn it off. It's just bad, especially when, however many girls, 12 girls had no idea who Kamala was. Please. If you don't know who Kamala is, you shouldn't be in this business. Plain and simple. I think I was raised too old school in this business. I've been in, 17 years, and I know my shit, basically, and there's a lot of girls out there that really don't deserve where they are, and there's a lot of girls that have been working in this business for years on independence trying to get their start, and they'll never get there because either their boobs aren't as big as the Diva search girls, or whatever. But I'm not a big fan of the Diva search, put it that way.
I can understand that. What are your thoughts on the girls in the business today? Do you think they get it?
Didn't we just talk about that?
Well, basically, not really. What I mean by that is, the it factor with sort of like the psychology and how things are done at all?
Absolutely not. What I heard, they are, the girls that are there now are run through matches step by step, and it's like memorization. They're memorizing a dance, basically. There is no psychology in that whatsoever. Psychology is when you go in there cold, nothing in your head, and you can either work a match or work ringside or, manage somebody or do something, just spur of the moment, improv. That's how I was trained. You just do everything, right off the top of your head, everything improv, and and that's the way it should be. And I think it's better that way. At least your full emotion comes out. When things are too scripted and everything's, step by step by step by step, you've seen it once, you've seen it, a million times.
Right. What was the cause of your off-screen problems with Sable?
She's a bitch. That's the cause of it.
Plain and simple, huh?
Plain and simple. Seriously, anybody who's ever met her knows that that's how she is. She's not a nice person. She never was, never will be. And, that's it. She thought, her shit didn't stink, and it stunk.
Well said. Well, how do you respond to Sable's claims that you were never approached by Playboy?
She's so full of it. She just wants to take all the, the credit of being the first one offered Playboy. I was offered Playboy about a year before her, and I turned it down within 5 minutes. What happened was I was called into the office by Vince, and what was her name? Lisa Wolf. She was in charge of the girl things there at the time. And I said, I was only home for 2 days. I had to do laundry, repack it, back out on the road for a month. So I said, can we just talk about whatever you need to talk to me on the phone? They're like, no, we really need to see you in the office. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm getting fired. That's the first thing going through my mind. They need to see me in person. So I get there, and I'm in my business suit, and I'm trying to be all, please don't fire me kind of thing. And I sit down there, and Vince goes, we've had a few phone calls. I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? Who complained about me? And he's like, no. He goes, we've had a few phone calls from Playboy. I was like, huh? What do you mean? I was 23 at the time. And they're like, yeah, some readers have, written into Playboy, and they contacted us because they want to see you in the magazine. And I went, let me think about this. And it took me seriously all of 5 minutes to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm too young. It wasn't for me. It wasn't the right time in my life to do something like that. So I turned it down. And then I don't know if it was 8 months, a year later, they gave it to her because, they wanted somebody from the company in it. And I said no. But of course, she's going to want to take the credit and say she was the first, but she wasn't. Everybody knows that. Ask Vince, he'll tell you.
I believe you. Is it true you were considered the click chick in the WWE?
Yes, I was the click chick. That was my title. Yeah, I have to say that. I was friends with the click, and I was a little more friendly with one of them. But, I think we all know about that. But, yeah, that was my nickname, the click chick.
Is there any chance you'll be making any appearances in the new ECW?
You know what? When I heard that was coming out, I was really excited about it. I was like, oh my God, ECW again, this is going to be great, because I enjoyed ECW shows. It's fun to watch. They're great. They're exciting. Now, I look at it now, and it's just a bunch of WWE rejects that they can't fit them on SmackDown or Raw. They shove them off to ECW, and it's not an ECW show anymore. It's just, it's a WWE show under the ECW banner. So, I can't even watch it.
Basically, it's their program under a different banner name.
Oh, absolutely. Just a different name, but it's the same crew, and they just rotate them through all three shows. How is that ECW?
Right.
It's not like they're doing anything more extreme in ECW than they are in Raw or SmackDown, because they're doing crazy stuff in Raw and SmackDown now. So, to me, it's all the same.
Okay. Do you think your contributions to the business are worthy of being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Good question. I'd love to be inducted. When I was 23 years old, actually, I was the youngest person ever to be inducted into the Cauliflower Alley Hall of Fame, which I don't know if you know, but that's the industry Hall of Fame. That's not like the company,
I'm familiar with it.
That's the real, it's kind of like the Oscars, per se, because it's the real thing, and I was the youngest person ever inducted when I was 23 years old, so that was just like, wow, that was a huge honor.
Sure.
Of course, the WWE Hall of Fame would be great, but my boyfriend constantly jokes around with me. He's like, oh, if you get inducted, you're going to be considered as, old and classic as the rest of them in there. Which, seriously, it's true. I love the people who are inducted right now. You have Iron Sheik, you got Nikolai Volkov, you got all those guys, but they're 60 years old. I'm only 34. Give me a little bit more time before you stick me
more of a time frame
in classic, category in the Hall of Fame. Of course it'll be wonderful, and when and if it happens, yeah, it'll happen. I should say when it happens, but
not if or when.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be great, but yeah, I don't know if I'm old enough for that yet, unless they make note that it's the youngest person ever involved.
The big quotation marks.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see, but it would be awesome.
That'd be great. Have you been in contact with the WWE?
I've talked to a few people over the past few years, most recently Howard Finkel, just because I've known him forever, but you never know. For the past few years, I've just been in school and not really focused on, this business at all, and now, I'm just, kicked my butt back in gear, and, I'm looking like Sunny again, so, you never know. Ooh, what are you scanning my body? But
that's what I had.
You never know what'll happen.
Oh, I for one would like to see you back in WWE. Have they been in contact with you lately at all?
Not lately, because I don't think they know that, I've gotten myself back in sunny shape, as I like to call it. But you never know what'll happen. And the more appearances I make and the more word gets around, you never know. I'm still young enough. I'm only
definitely
34.
Well, I, for one, along with others, would like to see you back in WWE as soon as possible. And I'd like to thank you for your time for stopping by.
Anytime. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Stay cool.
You dig it. So there you have it, everybody. That's the interview that Brooklyn Zone did back in 2007. Tammy pulled no punches. She spoke about how much disdain and hatred she had towards Sable, the big controversy of who exactly was asked first to pose in Playboy. Tammy said it was her, but at the time she was 23 years old and she wasn't ready for a commitment like that, which I respect. She also spoke about how the Diva search was a waste of time. When I asked her back in 2007 if she thinks she'll be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, she said definitely. She didn't want to be inducted at the time because she was young. She was only in her 30s, so I can't blame her for wanting to wait. Because, she brought up a great point that Nikolai Volkov at the time and Iron Sheik, these were guys in their 60s, so she didn't want to be in the same type of Hall of Fame class with a bunch of people who are basically at the retirement age, and she was still technically still in her prime. But she did call it. She did get inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I'll get to in a couple of minutes. But before I do that, let's just run down a brief resume, so to speak, what Tammy did from the beginning in the world of wrestling until, unfortunately, what happened this past March in 2022, which we'll get into in a moment. But up to like around 2018, 19-ish, she was involved in wrestling. So she started out originally in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, where she was there from 92 to 95. And after Smoky Mountain, her and her boyfriend, Chris Candido, they entered the World Wrestling Federation, and they were there from 95 to 98. They created the Body Donnas, where she was Sunny, he was Skip. Later on, Dr. Bruce Pritchard was Zip. They formed the Body Donnas tag team. They were actually tag team champions. It was a great gimmick at the time. Basically their attitude was, hey, we're in shape, we're better than you, and you need to be more like us. It was a great gimmick. I found it very hilarious. And it served its purpose during that time frame of the World Wrestling Federation. This is, right before the Attitude Era, so it made sense. So then after WWF, she went over to Extreme Championship Wrestling. Now, when I say Extreme Championship Wrestling, I'm talking the real Extreme Championship Wrestling from 1998 to 1999. When we had our conversation back in 2007, when I interviewed her, I asked her about that then Extreme Championship Wrestling, which was technically, the watered down version. And she would not be a part of that, Tammy, but she was a part of the original ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling for only a year from 98 to 99. And then when she parted ways, they went over to the World Championship Wrestling, WCW. And, they signed together there. They were only there for about a year. And basically after that, they hit the independent scene. And Tammy was in the independent scene from 2000 to 2018, and she made sporadic appearances. And, my favorite, it's a personal of mine, not to sound biased, but I was with NWA Cyberspace, as most of you know. I was the associate producer, and Die Hard Derek was the director. So she made numerous appearances at our Jersey-based NWA Cyberspace promotion. And we had a Chris Candido memorial show after he had passed away. So we have a lot of good memories and a lot of, ties with Tammy during our days in NWA Cyberspace. And then later on at the Turnbuckle Promotions, where we had the privilege of catching up and interviewing her at the time back in 07. And then since then, after Cyberspace and, before and after, she made sporadic appearances in WWE. She was there in 2007, 2009, as well as 2011, which was, like I said, a bunch of sporadic appearances. And then shortly after that, Sunny participated at WrestleMania 25 on April 5th in 2009. She was in the 25 Diva Battle Royal for the crown of Miss WrestleMania, which I find kind of funny because in 07, she was talking about how like the Divas are a waste of time, and she was kind of like, labeling them, but yet she was in this gimmick Battle Royal for Miss WrestleMania, but I just find it funny. It's just my personal opinion. She was actually then eliminated by Beth Phoenix, and after that, Sytch was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by the entire, roster of the Divas on April 2nd of 2011. And again, fast forward 4 years later, after saying that the Divas search is a waste of time, who inducted her? All the Divas. Yes, it's 4 years later, but I just find it ironic how she said all this stuff about them in 2007, but yet she had them all induct her in 2011. I guess the Divas didn't check out Brooklyn Zone and Die Hard Derek's 2007 interview. Had they probably wouldn't want to have inducted her. But, you can't go back in the DeLorean and change time. It is what it is. And then in 2021, the WWE Network, they listed Tammy as one of the many female performers who made an impact in the WWE outside the ring. So, it's funny because as I mentioned earlier in the interview, Sytch claimed that in 97, Playboy approached her first for a six-figure sum to pose nude for the magazine. And Tammy also stated that she declined that offer because she didn't feel that she was emotionally ready to do something like that. Enter then Rena Sable Mero before she was married to, the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. She was still with Mark Mero at the time. So, in real life, Sytch has a real life animosity, toward Sable. And, they disputed the claim that she was first approached, as I mentioned earlier, for a possible photo shoot. And then from 2001 to 2003, Sytch regularly posed actually nude for Missy Hyatt's adult website known as Wrestling Vixens. Later down the road after that, allegedly in later years, Sytch said in numerous interviews that she had regretted taking part in that website with Missy Hyatt due to allegedly, and I say allegedly, that money that she claimed she never received. So who knows what happened. But, then fast forward 9 years after the interview with Sonny in 2016, she did a movie with Vivid Entertainment. They released a movie featuring Sonny. Released from prison in 2020, Sytch created an OnlyFans account to upload this adult-oriented content. This is how she was making her money because the wrestling business didn't want her. And, obviously, I guess you got to pay the bills and you got to do what you got to do. But, I don't judge anybody, but it is what it is. But let's fast forward now to this year, 2022. Tammy Sytch was involved, unfortunately, in a fatal car crash in Volusia County, Florida, that unfortunately killed a 75-year-old man back on March 25th, 2022, to be exact. And according to the police report from the, Ormond Beach Police Department, Sytch was driving a 2012 Mercedes-Benz when she crashed into the rear of a 2013 Kia Sorento that had been stopped at a stoplight. And witnesses told police that Sytch was driving at a high speed when she crashed into the Kia Sorento. Now, Sytch was transported to the hospital with unknown injuries at the time, and a sample of her blood was taken for analysis. So now in May of 2022, Sytch was arrested, as I mentioned, on a DUI and it's manslaughter-related charges. After the toxicology reported back, they found her blood alcohol content was about 3.5 times the legal limit during that fatal car crash. Now, after initially being released, after posting a $227,500 bond, a judge deemed her to be a danger to the community and revoked the bond 6 days later, and Sytch was returned to jail while she's currently awaiting trial. Tammy Sytch is now facing up to 26 years in prison if convicted. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My condolences to the family of the gentleman that passed away. She's been in and out of prison numerous times. You hate to see someone, go through this. She had plenty of chances of getting help, and unfortunately it fell on deaf ears. So with that being said, hopefully she'll get the help that she needs, whether it's while she's incarcerated or if she does get out, if she doesn't, who knows what's going to happen. I guess we'll do a feature, follow-up in the near future regarding that. But, there you have it. It's a trip down memory lane. We hopped in the DeLorean today. We went back in time 15 years ago. You guys got to see a cool interview, some predictions, how she felt, and then the irony of how she felt. As I mentioned earlier, here she's talking trash of all these divas, and then she had them induct her. It's kind of funny how life works out, right? Well, that's all I got for now. I'm Brooklyn's own Toddy D. I have a lot more interviews from 2007 that I'm going to be posting here up on the podcast. Check me out on YouTube. I'm at Toddy D Wrestling on Twitter. Also, check out my main man, my brother from another mother, Die Derek. He's on the Midnight Hustle podcast on YouTube, and you can also check him out at the Midnight Hustle on Twitter. So check out both of our, websites. Check out all of our social media. Please like and subscribe. It takes a lot of work to do this, but we have a lot of fun doing it. We have a love for the business for many, many years. We enjoy sharing our content with each and every one of you. But what we do want also is feedback. So please, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear if you have any questions. Whatever I didn't cover, if you have any suggestions, hit Brooklyn's own Toddy D up, as well as Die Hard Derek and his Midnight Hustle podcast, and on my podcast at Toddy D Wrestling. So that's all I got for now. Once again, I'm Brooklyn's own Toddy D. It's been a privilege and a pleasure hanging out with you guys today. Hit us up, and we'll see you soon. Take care, and God bless.